somebody wanted a tutorial on movement. Now, once again, I don't think they specified what type of movement because movement is a very broad term because there's so many different types of movement. However, for this tutorial, I'm going to focus on, well, I'm guessing I'm going to say the motion in which certain actions go at. I'm going to say. And what I mean by that is, well, you know how some punches go forward and some kicks go forward, and then you have, some kicks that slash and some punches that slash. In other words, you have a jab and then you have an uppercut, or you have a forward kick and then a roundhouse kick. You know, so that would be demonstrated like this. You would have a straight kick and then a slash type of attack, if you will. Now, I made them purely 2D because, well, making them 3D would probably mess with somebody. Now, the punches I always usually do 2D, but the kicks I'll end up doing like 3D or some bullcrap. So, for the sake of simplicity, I will make it 2D completely. But as I think I've explained it before, but now I'm just applying it to specific motions. As I said before, you have startup frames, and then you have, your actual like action frame, which would be like the actual attack itself, or the action you're trying to make happen. But the startup frames would be the lead up to that action. Depending on how many frames you put before the action will decide how slow the action will actually come out. So think of it as frame data from like a game. You have a frame 5 attack and then you have a frame 1 attack. Obviously, the lower the frames, the faster the attack comes out. That's how it works. So that's how I would describe this, honestly. So if you want a very fast attack, you would put less action frames. I mean, not action frames. You would put less startup frames. And then, of course, after the action frame, you have your, dying frames, if you will, or your ending frames, which just indicates that the action itself has died down or ended completely. And then it goes into a different motion, usually. It's the same thing for kicks. Literally. You have your little startup frame, and then the actual action frame, then the dying frames or the ending frames. That's how it works, and that's with just jabs and forward attacks. There we go. That's for attacks that go forward. Slashes are a little different, honestly. They are just a tad bit different, and that's literally just the direction they go in. So for uppercuts, right? For uppercuts, it would be like you go down low and then you just make the fist go upward. That's an uppercut. It's still pretty much a circular motion. It is considered a slash. And for kicks, it's the same. But for kicks, it's a little more. How you say? I want to say expressive, because with a kick, you have like a lot more there, and it's not to the body; it's like away from the body. So for this one, I just made it really, really far away. But it's the same rolling. Startup frames, action frame, dying frames. And now for the starting frames, you want to start them close together and very usually you want them to look slow, and you want the action frame to just pop up out of nowhere because, well, that's how you give it oomph or attack power, if you will. And then from there, it's reaction and interaction. So, if you make them kick a rock and it explodes, it means the kick was extremely powerful. If you make them kick a rock and it doesn't do anything, then that means the kick must have been weak. That's kind of how it works. Well, with action and interaction, or reaction and interaction, sorry. So, as I said before, it's literally just, I don't know if they meant this type of movement, but for punches and kicks, there are two types that I mainly use. Those are straight attacks and slashes. Also can be applied to swords, daggers, axes, hammers, bats, pretty much any form of weapon that can be swung or stabbed in a certain direction. Literally anything. You could even apply this to random miscellaneous objects like wall pieces, debris. Heck, you can even attach it to something like, I don't know, I want to say a ball on a piece of string. Like, come on now, like a yo-yo or something. So yeah, once again, you have your startup frames, your ending frames, and your action frame. Your action frame comes out of nowhere, and that is what your attack will be, or the action you want to happen will show. That's where it will show. That's why I call it an action frame. Your startup frames set up your action frame, and your ending frames end your action frame. All right.